Hi everyone, and welcome to my early access review for Lightyear Frontier. Lightyear Frontier is a peaceful open-world farming adventure game where you play as a pioneer who has crash-landed on a planet at the far edge of the galaxy after trying to escape the dire state that Earth was in, and thankfully you crash-land with your mech and a bunch of high-tech tools to make your new life on this planet a good one, while also discovering the secrets that the planet has in store for you. With this game focusing on settling a new life in a new environment, you can expect that you will need to become self-sufficient while creating a new life for yourself. And in order to do this, you will need to gather materials across the world, craft useful items, grow crops via farming, and just lots more. The gameplay is more or less very similar to other indie farming crafting games, or whatever you would call them, that you've probably played in the past. And with the game's main gimmick being the mech that you'll use for practically everything in the game, I'm going to cover that specifically first in the gameplay section. Your mech is an essential tool for farming, building, exploration, and basically everything inside of the game. And with the mech, you'll have access to a variety of tools and the ability to rocket jump. And the tools specifically are the spike saw, the vacuum harvester, the irrigation hose, the crop seed shooter, and the sapling seed shooter. The spike saw is used for general destruction and breaking tasks such as chopping down trees or harvesting ore. The vacuum harvester is used for filling your mech with water for the irrigation hose or clearing the planet of noxious weeds. The irrigation hose is used for watering crops, filling water containers for animals, and clearing noxious slime. And finally, the crop seed shooter and the sapling seed shooters are used to plant seeds for both crops, trees, shrubs, and other larger plants. Along with these general tools, your mech also has multiple forms. One form allows you to place dirt or stone pathways for aesthetic purposes, another form allows you to till the land for crop placement outside of the planters, and the last form allows you to become a lawnmower and mow the grass for further aesthetic refinement. And apart from the tools and the forms in the mech, you'll also be able to upgrade all the tools that your mech uses and the basic abilities of the mech, such as how long it can rocket jump for, or how fast it can sprint with all the resources and parts that you'll be collecting around the world or crafting at your homestead. You're also able to customize the specific parts of the mech, such as the arms and the legs, via pieces that you buy from the merchant who visits your planet daily, or through paints that you can create yourself through the paint mixing system. So taking a departure from talking solely about the mech specific points, I also want to talk about how you need to discover and explore the different regions of the world. And given this game is in early access, we only have access to the first portion of the game at the moment, but there's still plenty to explore, as each region has a different theme with different creatures and resources to discover. However, the planet seems to have been infected by either noxious weeds or slime or a mixture of both, and each region requires cleanup before the resources and animals can return to it. And the noxious weeds and slime also can be different levels of strength, so you'll need to upgrade your mech accordingly to deal with the stronger types of weed and slime, and this acts as a way to guide your progression while also not being too limiting. And considering the game has farming as one of its highlights, you will, of course, need to farm. And initially you'll be limited to small planters to grow your crops that you need for upgrading, and crafting and selling, but you'll also eventually expand to having your very own multi-acre farm, along with tree farms and being able to even hatch animals and take care of them. Also, despite this game being early access, it has functional co-op multiplayer, so you are able to play the game with up to 3 other players if you wish, but I, however, didn't have anyone else who had this game, so I couldn't take advantage of this feature, unfortunately. As for the game's artistic presentation, if you haven't noticed already, the game is very beautiful. And the environment, the atmosphere, the design of items, and just, I don't know, everything looks really nice here. And from the opening screen to the actual gameplay, the game has an excellent look. And paired with the US folk western type music, or whatever you would call it, the game just oozes a overall comfy atmosphere. And the day and night cycles also look really nice. The game also has full voice acting for your companion, a satellite in space called PIP-3R, or Piper for short, and some snippets of dialogue from the other 3 characters that you can currently interact with. And the quality of the voice acting is pretty good, and the accents add charm to the characters, I'd say. And the sounds of your mech's various movements and other things like that are also very fitting to the actions that you're doing, so the sound design is also pretty solid, I'd say. However, despite the praise, there are still some downsides to the game's artistic presentation, as While I like the day and night cycles, the transition from night to morning seems to be a bit glitchy at the moment, as the light in the sky tends to suddenly jump to morning instead of slowly transitioning. And I also think that the character designs aren't as pretty as the landscapes and other features of the environment, but honestly these are smaller points that aren't really too much of a bother. Now, if I were to go into my personal thoughts about this game, I'd say that I have an overall positive opinion of it, but not without some downsides. The game provides a cozy and relaxing escape with its offering of beautiful environments and solid voice acting that honestly adds depth to the game's overall atmosphere. And the game flows pretty well overall, and they definitely did a good job making the game have that core gameplay loop that we just all know and love with farming sim, farm exploration type games. You know what I mean, those type of games. Unfortunately, I'll need to now go into the downsides of what I think about the game, and the first downside would have to do with the mech aspect of the game. Despite the mech theme looking like a promising concept, it honestly ends up feeling more like a clunky gimmick rather than an innovative feature. One of the reasons why I say this is due to how frustrating certain aspects of using the mech are. The main annoyance with using the mech would be the rocket jump mechanics, as if you rocket jump anywhere that is on an uneven surface, then your mech will pretty much be guaranteed to flip over, and you'll need to pop out of your mech and flip it back over and then get back inside of it, which is honestly just annoying. And even if you're not rocket jumping, you can still trip over like a small rock or something like while sprinting or walking, which will make you flip over again, and you'll also need to flip over your mech again, and it just feels like an unnecessary addition that provides nothing of substance but annoyance to the gameplay. Another reason why I feel like the mech aspect of the game is an annoying gimmick is because I feel like everything I do with the mech could pretty much be the same if I were just a normal human running around the planet in space gear. Like, I don't want to compare it to other games, but like in No Man's Sky, I didn't have any mechs, but I could still do basically every single thing I'm doing with the mech in this game, and it felt way less clunky to move around as a normal human compared to a mech, because the way the mech works is like if you're walking in a certain direction, like you have to take some time to like pivot around because you're controlling a giant machine and it just doesn't work like how a normal human movement would be like. And I know this was for the immersion and just creating more atmosphere for the game, but it just feels clunky to me. I just don't like it. And this isn't to say that the game's bad with how it implements the whole mech mechanic. Like, it really feels like they did the best with what they have, but they didn't go above and beyond with the mech concept. My main issue with the mech thing is that there's nothing special about it. There really isn't. It just feels like a glorified farming tool with no special powers, such as like maybe charging up a punch that can, you know, plow the ground with its shockwaves or something innovative like that. Like, you're working with a mech. Why is it just a glorified farming tool? I don't understand. Like, lore-wise, it is made to be like a glorified farming tool, basically, but we're playing a game here. Like, do something more innovative with it. That's what I feel like. And sorry, I was ranting a bit on that one, but the mech issues aren't the only problems I have with the game, as I found that the game's inventory management was not good at all. Like, the game simply doesn't give you enough space for all the resources that you need to collect, even with upgrades, and ores tend to be quite heavy. And if you settled your homestead far away from an ore resource, like I did, you need to farm, and then run back, and then farm again, and then run back, and you just have to constantly do this. And the game has like a weight-based management system, so like the inventory is based off of weight. So the ore is heavy, you have to carry heavy ore, and then far distances, so it's just a bunch of back and forth, and it really was quite annoying because I didn't really realize when settling that I settled basically at the most northern part of the whole map, and a lot of the ores were to the south of the map, so it was a lot of back and forth for me. And once you settle your homestead, it's pretty hard to just be like, oh yeah, I guess I'll just pick up everything and move, because, well, I made that place my home. It's kind of hard to just pick up and move. And the issues don't just stop there, as even storing the items that you've collected into chests are also influenced by the weight of the item, as containers can only carry up to a max weight, just like your mech. And this means that your storage containers have the same issues as your mech with the weight limits. You can't escape this even with a high level of storage, as I found myself collecting copper and trying to deposit it and still filling out a container meant for storing large amounts of just one material. And it was just so annoying for me. And you use up materials so fast, so like I filled it up to the top and then I used up all my copper within like the same sitting or the same day. It was honestly kind of jarring to see. But yeah, I guess we'll see how these experiences influence my overall perspective of the game. So in conclusion, I think that Lightyear Frontier is a charming and cozy game for fans of farming sims and exploration games with its beautiful visuals, engaging sound design, and its unique atmosphere. And the mech-centric gameplay offers a seemingly innovative twist on the familiar mechanics you'd expect of this type of the game. However, in actuality, the mech-centric gameplay ends up being more of a gimmick than something that is actually truly innovative. And it comes with drawbacks such as clunky rocket jumping and the mech constantly falling over. And along with this, there are also frustrations regarding the weight-based inventory management system. Thankfully, despite these drawbacks, I think that the game is a promising early access title, and with future updates, it has a great potential and can easily adjust some of the more annoying gameplay aspects. And the game's blend of exploration, resource management, and beautiful landscapes make it worth keeping an eye on as it continues to develop. And this brings me to the pros and cons of the game. The pros of the game would be that it has a beautiful environment and set of landscapes. The game has plenty of pretty visuals to enjoy at pretty much all portions of the game. The game also has a cozy and relaxing atmosphere. The beautiful environment along with solid voice acting and pleasant music creates a wonderful atmosphere overall. And the overall great flow of gameplay is another good point. The game has a progression system that doesn't feel overly restrictive, but also guides your gameplay in a way that feels rewarding. As for the game's cons, I'd say that the mech-centric gameplay is clunky and feels like a gimmick. The movement feels more restrictive than it should be, and the game just would be more or less the same even if you didn't have the mech. And another con would be the terrible inventory management options. The weight limit requirement is a real annoyance, and its influence on storage units on your homestead further exemplifies this problem when you're playing throughout the game, not just only on your mech. Due to these factors, Lightyear Frontier will be receiving a score of 3.5 out of 5. So ultimately, Lightyear Frontier is a delightful experience with room to grow, and it's perfect for those who enjoy a laid-back exploratory journey on a distant planet in a distant galaxy, and hopefully it becomes even better once it's outside of early access, so I'd say to keep an eye on it. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and any constructive feedback on these videos is always greatly appreciated, and yeah, I'm glad I got this video out quicker than the last one, so thanks for tuning in, and bye!